15 most handsome black rappers and their beautiful daughters. They built hip-hop empires, sold millions of records, and became some of the most recognizable black artists in music. But what happens when these larger-than-life rap legends stop being superstars and simply become fathers? Behind the fame of Nas, Lil Wayne, Snoop Dogg, Jay-Z and other icons are daughters who grew up carrying names known around the world. Some embraced entertainment, while others deliberately created completely different lives. And a few of these father-daughter relationships may surprise you. Which rapper raised the most impressive daughter, and who has the strongest bond today? Before we reveal their stories, subscribe to Golden Black Legends, hit the like button and tell us your pick in the comments below. Nas and Destiny Jones. Long before Nas became universally celebrated as one of hip-hop's greatest lyricists, fatherhood was already reshaping his life. His daughter Destiny Jones was born in 1994 to Nas and Carmen Bryan during the same extraordinary period when the young Queensbridge rapper released his landmark debut album Illmatic. At an age when many artists were still discovering themselves, Nas suddenly had two enormous responsibilities: building a career and raising a daughter. Destiny would eventually become part of his artistic story. Most famously, Nas confronted the complexities of watching her grow up in Daughters, released on his 2012 album Life is Good. Rather than portraying himself as a perfect parent, he examined his fears, mistakes, protectiveness, and the uncomfortable realization that his little girl was becoming an independent woman. That honesty gave listeners a rare glimpse behind his usually composed persona. Destiny, however, refused to remain merely a famous rapper's child. She developed an interest in beauty and entrepreneurship and became closely associated with Lipmatic, a cosmetics venture whose name cleverly references her father's Illmatic. The original transcript likewise emphasizes her determination to establish herself in business instead of simply depending on Nas's reputation. That independence is what makes this father-daughter pairing especially compelling. Nas built his reputation through storytelling intelligence and decades of artistic longevity. Destiny has worked to create an identity that belongs to her. Their connection therefore represents more than celebrity appearance or inherited privilege. Behind the legendary rapper stands a father who watched his daughter become an adult, while beside him stands a woman determined to make the Jones name meaningful on her own terms. Nas gave Destiny a famous legacy, but Destiny chose to build her own chapter within it. Lil Wayne and Regina Carter. Lil Wayne became a father before he became a global rap superstar. Regina Carter, his eldest child with Antonia Toya Johnson, was born in November 1998 when Wayne was just 16 years old. At that point, the New Orleans teenager was still building his career with Cash Money Records, years away from the phenomenal success of the Carter albums and his eventual status as one of his generation's most influential rappers. That unusually early responsibility created a bond audiences have watched develop for decades. Regina appeared around the entertainment industry while still young and briefly pursued music herself, including membership in the girl group OMG Girls. As adulthood approached, however, she expanded into acting, reality television, entrepreneurship, and social media, gradually establishing recognition beyond her father's name. Wayne's public persona, tattoos, diamond grills, provocative lyrics, and unpredictable performances creates a striking contrast with his affectionate relationship with Regina. The transcript emphasizes that he became a teenage parent and remained closely connected to his daughter as his career exploded. Regina, in return, has publicly expressed admiration for her father and has sometimes defended him against criticism. What makes their story memorable is how they essentially matured alongside each other. Wayne was still a teenager when Regina arrived. She then witnessed him evolve from a hungry New Orleans rapper into a Grammy-winning international star. Today, Regina is no longer simply the little girl standing beside a famous father. She has become an adult with her own career, personality, and audience. Lil Wayne gave her access to an extraordinary legacy, but Regina's challenge has always been turning that inheritance into an identity unmistakably her own. T.I. and Deja Harris. Behind T.I.'s confident image as one of Atlanta hip-hop's defining figures lies a father-daughter relationship that has experienced affection, conflict, public controversy, and important lessons about boundaries. Deja Imani Harris, born in 2001 to T.I. and singer Miss Nico, grew up while her father was helping push Southern trap music into mainstream American culture. Deja became familiar to audiences partly through her family's reality television world. Yet her personality often appeared more reserved than the larger-than-life environment surrounding her. As she matured, she developed her own online following and increasingly used her platform to discuss self-confidence, emotional well-being, personal growth, and the pressures young people can experience. Their relationship became the subject of intense criticism in 2019 after T.I. publicly discussed private medical matters involving Deja. His comments were widely condemned as invasive. Deja later addressed the emotional impact of the episode on T.I. and Tiny Friends and Family Hustle, rather than repeating the original transcript's suggestion that every protective action simply reflected boundless love. An accurate retelling should acknowledge that parental concern does not eliminate a daughter's right to privacy. That difficult chapter makes their subsequent evolution more meaningful. Their story is not one of flawless celebrity parenting. It demonstrates how relationships can require reflection, communication, and changing boundaries as children become adults. T.I. built an imposing public identity through music, acting, and entrepreneurship. Deja has taken a quieter route, increasingly defining herself through her own perspective rather than her father's reputation. For viewers, that contrast gives this pairing genuine emotional depth. Deja did not need to become another version of T.I. to continue his legacy. Her independence and her willingness to speak for herself became the defining strength of her own story. The Game and Kelly Dream Taylor. The Game built his career around uncompromising West Coast storytelling, tattoos, rivalries, and the hard-edged mythology of Compton. Yet photographs and videos with Kelly Dream Taylor have repeatedly shown audiences an entirely different Jason Taylor. Born in August 2010 to The Game and Tiffany Cambridge, Kelly is his daughter and one of the most visible members of his family. Her arrival came years after her father had already achieved mainstream recognition with the documentary, his 2005 debut studio album featuring major records such as Hate It or Love It and How We Do. By the time Kelly was growing up, her father was no longer fighting simply to enter hip-hop. He had already established a substantial career. The contrast between rapper and parent became part of their public appeal. The Game has repeatedly shared affectionate tributes and family moments involving Kelly. The transcript similarly portrays her as the person capable of revealing the softer personality behind his intimidating public image. However, Kelly is still a teenager in 2026, so descriptions of her should remain age-appropriate, rather than the original transcript's emphasis on physical attractiveness. Her growing confidence, fashion interests, personality, and close family connection provide more responsible and ultimately more meaningful material. Kelly also represents something her father never possessed at the same age: the experience of growing up with extraordinary resources and worldwide visibility. How she eventually uses those opportunities remains her decision. For The Game, meanwhile, fatherhood reveals a compelling contradiction. The artist made millions of listeners believe in his toughness, but his daughter exposes the vulnerability underneath it. Kelly does not need to soften The Game's legacy. She simply reminds audiences that behind the aggressive records stands a father watching his daughter grow up far faster than he would probably like. LL Cool J and Italia Smith. Few names communicate hip-hop charisma quite as directly as LL Cool J. Ladies love Cool James. Born James Todd Smith, the Queen's legend, became a teenage recording star during the 1980s, combining muscular confidence, romantic records, and battle-ready rhymes into an image that helped make him one of rap's earliest mainstream heartthrobs. Away from that carefully cultivated persona, however, LL Cool J built something considerably more private, a long-standing family life. LL married Simone Smith in 1995 and together they have 4 children. Their eldest daughter, Italia Anita Maria Smith, chose a dramatically different route from her famous father. Rather than pursuing recording contracts or acting roles, Italia developed a professional identity largely outside entertainment, including work associated with real estate. That difference makes her particularly interesting. The original transcript correctly places Italia as the eldest of LL Cool J's 3 daughters and contrasts her business-oriented direction with those of sisters Samaria and Nina. Italia demonstrates that being born into an entertainment dynasty does not require becoming a celebrity. LL's own career provides an extraordinary backdrop. From pioneering Def Jam releases and hits such as I Need Love and Mama Said, Knock You Out, he successfully transitioned into acting, eventually becoming known to television audiences through his long-running role on NCIS Los Angeles. His longevity spans more than 4 decades. Yet Italia's quieter path arguably says something equally revealing about his legacy as a parent. Independence can mean giving children opportunities without demanding that they reproduce their parents' achievements. LL Cool J became famous by ensuring everyone knew his name. Italia chose something different, building adulthood without making fame the objective. That contrast may be their greatest strength. One conquered the spotlight, while the other showed that growing up beside it does not mean you have to live inside it. Ludacris and Karma Bridges. Ludacris conquered the early 2000s rap scene with explosive delivery, humor, and larger-than-life energy, but one of his most meaningful creative inspirations came from someone much closer to home, his daughter Karma Bridges. Born in August 2001, Karma arrived while Christopher Ludacris Bridges was rapidly becoming one of Southern hip-hop's biggest stars. As his career expanded, fatherhood gave that success a different purpose. Their connection eventually inspired an entire animated universe. Ludacris developed Karma's World, a children's musical series centered on an aspiring young rapper named Karma Grant. The Netflix series premiered in 2021, but its roots stretched back years to ideas inspired by his daughter. The transcript correctly highlights this unusual creative connection between father and child. Karma did not simply remain the inspiration behind a fictional character. Education became an important part of her own journey. She attended Spelman College in Atlanta and graduated in 2024. Her interests have included storytelling and filmmaking, giving her opportunities to explore entertainment from behind the camera rather than simply copying her father's rap career. That difference makes their relationship particularly engaging. Ludacris earned multiple Grammy Awards and expanded his fame internationally as Tej Parker in the Fast and Furious franchise. Karma grew up surrounded by those achievements, yet she has had room to develop her own ambitions. Their story captures something deeper than inherited celebrity. Ludacris transformed his love for his daughter into a project encouraging young children to value creativity, confidence, and self-expression. Karma, meanwhile, transformed extraordinary access into education and personal ambition. Ludacris gave Karma his name and opportunities, but perhaps his greater gift was allowing her to decide what success should look like for herself. Snoop Dogg and Cory Brodus. Snoop Dogg has spent more than 3 decades transforming himself from a young Long Beach rapper into one of the most recognizable personalities in entertainment. Behind the relaxed voice, unmistakable style, and enormous cultural presence, however, stands Calvin Brodus Jr., a father whose relationship with Cory Brodus has revealed a deeply personal side of the West Coast icon. Born in June 1999 to Snoop and his wife Shante Brodus, Cory is their only daughter together. Growing up inside a famous musical household naturally exposed her to creativity, and she eventually began releasing music under the name CHO, developing an R&B-oriented sound rather than simply reproducing her father's distinctive rap style. The original transcript correctly identifies Corey but contains an obvious mistake at the end of her section, calling her Corday. The correct pairing is unquestionably Snoop Dogg and Corey Brodus. Their connection has also extended far beyond entertainment. Snoop and Shante have publicly supported their daughter through difficult periods, while Corey has gradually built her own identity through music, entrepreneurship, fashion, and public appearances. In 2025, another generation entered their family story when Corey and Wayne Deuce welcomed a daughter, making Snoop a grandfather through Corey. That milestone illustrates just how dramatically time has changed Snoop's image. Fans who first encountered him as the lanky young rapper on Dr. Dre's The Chronic can now watch him celebrate his adult daughter and granddaughter. Corey's life should not be reduced to her father's fame. She has had to discover her own voice while carrying one of hip-hop's most recognizable surnames. Snoop built the Brodus name before millions of fans. Corey's challenge has been deciding what that name will represent for her own generation. Jay-Z and Blue Ivy Carter. Few children have entered the world beneath a brighter spotlight than Blue Ivy Carter. Born in January 2012 to Jay-Z and Beyoncé, she arrived as the daughter of two global entertainment giants. Yet as Blue has grown older, an intriguing transformation has taken place. The child, once famous simply because of her parents, has begun accumulating achievements that belong to her personally. Jay-Z introduced fatherhood into his music almost immediately. Shortly after Blue's birth, he released Glory, an emotional recording celebrating his daughter. Blue's cries appeared on the track, giving her an extraordinary musical credit while she was still a newborn. Years later came an even greater milestone. Blue received songwriting credit on Beyoncé's Brown Skin Girl and shared in its Grammy victory for Best Music Video in 2021. At 9 years old, she became one of the youngest Grammy winners in history, an achievement also highlighted by the original transcript. But Blue's development did not stop with awards. During Beyoncé's Renaissance World Tour in 2023, she joined her mother on stage as a dancer. Early performances attracted online criticism, yet she continued training and visibly improved, turning what could have been discouraging scrutiny into motivation. For Jay-Z, the journey presents an extraordinary generational contrast. Sean Carter rose from Brooklyn's Marcy houses and built his career through music and entrepreneurship. Blue was born inside an empire her parents had already constructed. That privilege creates opportunities but also extraordinary expectations. Blue must develop while millions watch every step. Jay-Z spent decades building a legacy from almost nothing. Blue Ivy inherited that legacy at birth. The fascinating question is what she will eventually create with it and whether her own accomplishments will someday become as recognizable as the Carter name itself. Rev Run and Angela Simmons. When Run DMC helped push hip-hop into mainstream American culture during the 1980s, Joseph Rev Run Simmons could hardly have predicted that decades later audiences would know him almost as well for fatherhood as for music. His daughter Angela Simmons, born in September 1987 to Rev Run and Valerie Vaughn, eventually transformed that famous family connection into a career distinctly different from her father's. Their relationship became especially visible through MTV's Run's House, which premiered in 2005. Instead of seeing Rev Run commanding stages beside Daryl DMC McDaniels, audiences watched him navigating household disagreements, giving advice, establishing rules, and guiding his children through adolescence and young adulthood. Angela used that exposure as a launching point rather than a final destination. Alongside her sister, Vanessa Simmons, she became associated with Pastry, the footwear and fashion brand the sisters launched during the 2000s. The original transcript correctly connects Vanessa and Angela with the business and their rise through reality television. Angela subsequently expanded into television, fashion, fitness, entrepreneurship, and other ventures, establishing a public identity independent of Run DMC. Her adult life has also included difficult chapters, making the polished celebrity family image considerably more complicated than it first appeared. That resilience adds emotional depth to the father-daughter story. Rev Run belonged to a generation that had to convince mainstream America that hip-hop could become permanent culture. Angela inherited a world where that battle had already been won and used those opportunities in business and media. Rev Run opened doors through music, but Angela never needed to become a rapper to walk through them. Their shared legacy demonstrates that the strongest inheritance is not necessarily a career. It can be the confidence to create an entirely different one. Kanye West and North West. Kanye West has spent his career challenging expectations, and his eldest daughter, North West, appears to have inherited some of that fearless creative instinct. Born in June 2013 to Kanye and Kim Kardashian, North entered a family already surrounded by extraordinary fame. Unlike her father, who had to fight his way from Chicago producer to global superstar, she has never known a life without cameras, headlines, and enormous public curiosity. Kanye's influence stretches far beyond rap. Albums, including The College Dropout, Late Registration, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, helped reshape modern hip-hop, while his ventures into fashion made his aesthetic almost as discussed as his music. North grew up inside that intensely creative environment. Even at a young age, she has explored music, painting, fashion, and performance. In 2024, North appeared on Talking from Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign's Vultures One, delivering the memorable "It's Your Bestie, Miss Westie" section. That same year, she performed as young Simba during the Lion King concert event at the Hollywood Bowl. The source transcript similarly highlights North's interests in fashion, painting, and singing. Because she remains a minor, however, her story should focus on creativity and development rather than adult-oriented descriptions of appearance. Their relationship offers an intriguing generational mirror. Kanye built a reputation by refusing to conform. North already demonstrates confidence in expressing herself publicly. But her future should not be predetermined by her surname. Kanye created an enormous cultural legacy. North inherited access to it, but the most interesting chapter will be discovering whether she follows her father's road or builds one that nobody expects. Master P and Symphonique Miller. Master P represents one of hip-hop's greatest stories of independent entrepreneurship. Born Percy Miller in New Orleans, he transformed No Limit Records into a formidable rap empire during the 1990s through aggressive marketing ownership and an unusually prolific release strategy. Yet within the Miller family, his daughter Symphonique Miller demonstrated that carrying a hip-hop legacy does not necessarily mean becoming another rapper. Born in August 1996, Symphonique grew up surrounded by music and business. While her father was known for hard-edged Southern rap and relentless entrepreneurship, she developed a considerably different entertainment identity, combining singing with acting and youth-oriented television. Her most recognizable breakthrough came through Nickelodeon's How to Rock, which premiered in 2012. Symphonique starred as Casey Simon, giving her an opportunity to become recognizable to younger audiences independently of Master P's recording career. She has also released music and pursued other entertainment projects. The transcript correctly presents her as Master P's daughter and identifies both her singing and television work, although it repeatedly misspells her name as Symphonique. The correct spelling is Symphonique Miller. Their father-daughter story reflects two different versions of the same entrepreneurial spirit. Master P came from an era when independent Southern artists had to create their own infrastructure to compete with established labels. Symphonique entered entertainment with doors already open, but still needed talent and persistence to establish an identity beyond her surname. That distinction matters. Having a famous parent can provide opportunities, but it cannot guarantee an audience will remain interested. Master P built the Miller legacy through ownership and determination. Symphonic extended it through a different medium, proving that following a father's example does not require following his exact footsteps. Ja Rule and Brittany Atkins. At the height of his career, Ja Rule possessed one of the most recognizable voices in hip-hop. His raspy delivery powered a remarkable run of early 2000s hits, while collaborations with singers helped blur the boundaries between mainstream rap and R&B, away from those platinum records. However, Jeffrey Atkins was raising a family, including his eldest daughter, Brittany Atkins. Brittany was born in 1995 to Ja Rule and Aisha Atkins, who married in 2001. She therefore experienced her father's extraordinary rise from a very different perspective than millions of fans. While audiences heard records such as Always on Time, Mesmerize, and Wonderful, Brittany witnessed the human being behind the unmistakable voice. The family eventually invited cameras into parts of their everyday life through MTV's Follow the Rules in 2015. The reality series presented Ja Rule not merely as a rapper but as a husband and father, dealing with the humor, disagreements, and responsibilities of family life. The transcript identifies Brittany as Ja Rule's eldest daughter and emphasizes her comparatively private direction. One correction is important. Her name should be consistently written Brittany Atkins rather than the transcript's occasional Brittany. Unlike many celebrity children who aggressively pursue the spotlight, Brittany has generally maintained a lower public profile. That choice actually strengthens her place in this story. Independence does not always mean building another entertainment empire. Sometimes it means deciding that fame does not need to become the center of adulthood. Ja Rule's career has experienced enormous success, public rivalries, legal difficulties, and reinvention. Through all those changes, family remained part of his life away from the microphone. Ja Rule gave Brittany a famous surname. Her quieter journey shows that she still has the right to decide exactly how much that fame should define her. Birdman and Bria Williams. Birdman built his reputation through ambition, business instincts, and the unmistakable extravagance of Cash Money Records. But his relationship with Bria Williams reveals a considerably more personal side of the New Orleans rap mogul. Born in March 1998, Bria is the daughter of Brian Birdman Williams, whose label helped launch or accelerate the careers of major artists, including Juvenile and Lil Wayne. By the time Bria was growing up, Cash Money had evolved from a regional operation into one of hip-hop's most recognizable record labels. That meant she experienced opportunities few children could imagine, but also the pressure of carrying a surname closely associated with wealth, music, and public controversy. The original transcript identifies Bria as Birdman's daughter and describes her interest in fashion and beauty, while also noting her relatively low-key public profile. She attracted considerable media attention as a teenager, particularly when Birdman organized an elaborate Paris-themed Sweet 16 celebration for her in 2014. Yet Bria has generally avoided trying to become a female version of her father. Compared with Birdman's highly visible lifestyle, luxury cars, jewelry recording deals, and decades of industry headlines, his daughter has maintained a noticeably more private presence. That contrast makes them compelling as a father-daughter pairing. Birdman spent much of his adult life ensuring that Cash Money remained impossible for hip-hop audiences to ignore. Bria inherited access to that world without allowing it to dictate every aspect of her identity. Celebrity children often receive opportunities their parents never had, but those advantages arrive with expectations. Birdman created a powerful entertainment legacy. Bria's story reminds us that inheriting that legacy does not require living exactly like the man who built it. Eazy-E and E.B. Wright. Eazy-E and E.B. Wright share one of the most bittersweet father-daughter stories in hip-hop because their time together ended before E.B. was old enough to fully understand her father's enormous cultural significance. Born Erin Bria Wright in July 1991, E.B. was only 3 years old when Eric Eazy-E Wright died in March 1995 at age 30 from complications of AIDS. By then, Eazy-E had already changed rap history. As a founding member of NWA and founder of Ruthless Records, he helped bring the uncompromising sound of Compton into mainstream American consciousness. NWA's Straight Outta Compton became a landmark album, while Eazy's distinctive high-pitched delivery made him instantly recognizable. Abby therefore grew up not simply remembering a father, but gradually discovering the enormous mythology surrounding him. The original transcript correctly identifies her as Erin Bria, E.B. Wright, and describes her efforts to pursue entertainment while preserving her father's legacy. As an adult, she has worked in entertainment and participated in projects examining Eazy-E's life and death. She has also publicly discussed unanswered questions she believes surround his final days. Those concerns can be acknowledged, but speculation should never replace established fact. Eazy-E publicly announced that he had AIDS shortly before his death, and his reported cause of death was complications from the disease. That absence separates E.B. from most daughters in this story. She never had decades to seek her father's advice, celebrate milestones with him, or allow their adult relationship to evolve. Instead, she inherited recordings, photographs, family memories, and one of rap's most complicated legacies. Eazy-E helped write the history of West Coast hip-hop. E.B. was left with the harder task of discovering the father behind that history and deciding how his story should survive for another generation. Method Man and Cheyenne Smith. Method Man became famous as one of the most charismatic voices of Wu-Tang Clan. Yet when it comes to his family, he has historically preferred something unusual for a superstar: privacy. That protective instinct makes his relationship with daughter Cheyenne Smith particularly interesting. While Clifford "Method Man" Smith spent decades commanding stages and movie screens, his children were largely allowed to develop away from constant celebrity exposure. Method Man and his wife Tamika Smith have 3 children, including Cheyenne. Unlike families that built reality shows around their private lives, the Smith household remained comparatively guarded. Method Man has repeatedly drawn a firm boundary between his professional identity and the people waiting for him at home. Cheyenne eventually demonstrated creative interests of her own. The original transcript identifies her as Method Man's daughter and describes her involvement with music modeling and visual creativity. Her emergence is especially intriguing because it occurred without the kind of relentless childhood publicity experienced by many children of famous performers. Her father's career provides an imposing backdrop. Wu-Tang Clan's 1993 debut, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, became one of hip-hop's most influential albums. Method Man subsequently developed a successful solo career, won a Grammy through his collaboration with Mary J. Blige on I'll Be There For You, You're All I Need to Get By, and established himself as an actor. Cheyenne inherited access to that remarkable artistic world, but not an obligation to reproduce it. And perhaps that is where Method Man's approach to fatherhood stands apart. He became internationally recognizable while fighting to ensure his children could experience something closer to normality. Method Man gave millions of fans access to his art, but he protected his family from becoming part of the performance. Now Cheyenne can enter the spotlight because she chooses to, not simply because she was born inside it. Fame may build a legacy, but family reveals the person behind the legend. From Nas and Destiny Jones to Lil Wayne and Regina Carter, Snoop Dogg and Cory Brodus, and Jay-Z and Blue Ivy, these father-daughter stories show how hip-hop history continues through a new generation. Some daughters stepped confidently into entertainment, while others chose business, education, or quieter lives away from the spotlight. Their journeys prove that inheriting a famous name is only the beginning. But now we want to hear from you. Which black rapper do you believe has the strongest bond with his daughter, and which daughter has created the most impressive identity of her own? Share your choice in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to Golden Black Legends for more unforgettable stories.